Dr. Shende, glad to have you here. You have been working for the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, for about 19 years, and your work has spanned across different ESG issues like ozone layer depletion, climate change, food security. And could you please share briefly about your life journey?
Thank you. First of all, I appreciate you calling me here and discuss about these issues which are of utmost importance for the whole world and particularly for China. So nice to be here to discuss that. As far as my life journey is concerned, it's a long story. My passion for environment really started in my village in India. And village is a place which is very near to the nature. The river was flowing nearby and a lot of trees around, a lot of biodiversity around, and a temple. And that gave me the situation to build my mind towards that. And there I spent all my time in schooling. And when I look back now, I feel that I had two schools. One is a classroom and another is a nature. Yeah. Then I went to a very prestigious institute in India, which is the Indian Institute of Technology in Mumbai. And then I worked for a private sector in India where I took a lot of environmental initiative, because that was a time, I'm talking about 1970s, where the environmental movement has started. People started getting conscious about biodiversity loss, about ozone layer depletion, about global warming. People started understanding it. And that is the time when I worked in private sector where I took initiative. And then I got a chance to work on an international protocol, which is called as a Montreal Protocol for phase out of ozone depleting substances. That is for the protection of the ozone layer, which is the life shield for all of us staying on this earth. And then my journey really started for making international policies and the actions to save that ozone layer. So today, if you and me are sitting here, it's because the ozone layer is saved.
True.
So it was one of the most successful international environmental agreement in the history of United Nations. Most successful. The ozone layer is now protected and it is no longer getting depleted. That is story to be told and I am very proud of it. So that's where we are, and I want to use those lessons now for climate change. Where we have not been successful, we are failing, and it is a danger. And I am working mainly with the youth because they are going to face this long-term problem like climate change, loss of biodiversity, air pollution. These are not going to go away in one day or 1 year or 1 decade. They are going to be there for a longer time. So it is important to teach, make them learn by doing, and mold their minds and incubate their innovations. And the youth is the right audience for that. So through my organization, which is a not-for-profit, Green Thair Foundation, we work with the university youths to form the global network of universities. We are telling them to make your campus as a laboratory and start implementing the sustainable development goals, start implementing net zero in the campus. So by the time you are out, your mind is already molded for that, out of the campus. Then you go for work for business, sustainable development, ESG, you work for net zero.
So thank you. We talk about climate change. So what is the main cause for climate change?
The reasons for the climate change are really well known, that we are emitting carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And that is the reason that it causes a blanket of greenhouse gases to be formed around the earth, which doesn't allow the earth's heat to go out in atmosphere. So our planet is getting heated, So it is becoming hot every year and we keep on pumping greenhouse gases. So it is getting hotter and hotter. It is a cause, but it is not the root cause. The root cause is the greed of the people. And the root cause is indiscriminate development that is being taken place here. We have forgotten what is called as a sustainable development. We have forgotten that we should not work towards meeting our greed. Instead of that, we should work to meet our needs. So needs are more important than the greeds. But then the human society just wanted everything, irrespective whether they are damaging the nature or they are damaging the ecosystems or damaging the biodiversity. We thought that humans are at the center of the universe, not only planet, which is a wrong concept. We are one of the 8 billion species on this earth. It's not only monkeys and a giraffe and elephants. There are microorganisms.
True.
You and me hold millions of microorganisms in our body. And when I'm talking to you, all these microorganisms are working together to help me think and respond to your questions.
True.
And we are just one of them. But we wanted everything. That is the root cause. So we have to live together.
True.
We have to live together in partnership. It's a partnership with the whole ecosystem. We have to work with all the animals together. Live with each other, but not live on each other.
So it's a mankind crisis, like a climate change. But what do you think the most important impact about climate change on the society?
I will not use the word society. I will use the word ecosystem. The climate change has a major impact on ecosystem, and hence the human society is only part of it. So one of the impacts on an ecosystem is that we are destroying our own resources, the sources which give us the food, shelter, and whatever it tells us to give the water. What we need for living, that we are destroying it. That's the major impact. But we know that there are other impacts, like because of the global warming, there is a water security problem, there is a land degradation issue, there is a food security issue, then there is a people migrating from the coastal area to the high level area because of the flooding, sea level rise. So there are a number of other issues. But for me, the major impact is the destruction of the ecosystems on which we live. That's more important.
And you just mentioned the Montreal Protocol, which was developed by UNEP around 1987. Driven by that, you mentioned the ozone layer problem was kind of solved by now. And 10 years later, after Montreal Protocol, we have a Kyoto Protocol for climate change. So what kind of lessons you think we should learn from ozone layer protection to climate change mitigation?
There are some good lessons which we must not only learn but implement it. Take that as an example to build our climate change solutions. The first is we respected science. If the scientists are saying that these are the reasons for depleting the ozone layer, we all together analyzed it and believed in it. So we had a trust. So the trust with scientists is important. There are still the scientists in the world which are going against the reasons for the climate change. They say that climate change is a hoax. I think that should go, because the majority of the scientists have said this is the reason for the climate change, and climate change is happening. Not only happening, they are life-threatening. So one lesson is trust in our scientists. Number two, based on the scientists, convene all the 196 countries in the world to bring them to the common ground for taking action. It happened in the Montreal Protocol in 1987 that you said. Of course, a lot of time is lost in building the trust of the scientists, but then action was quick. So in about 20 years, the job was done. And today in a climate change, we have the same situation. We have just about 8 years left for reducing the greenhouse gases concentration by 50%. And then another 20 years after 2030 to make sure that we are net zero. We did that in ozone layer protection with the man-made gases, chlorofluorocarbons, hydrofluorocarbons, and about 100 such chemicals which depleted the ozone layer. So getting together and United Nations did a good job. It is one of the unique success story of United Nations. Third thing is the business. The business dedicated themselves to innovate the new technologies. See, one of the main reasons for the ozone layer protection was the use of chlorofluorocarbons in the refrigeration and air conditioning. And the refrigeration and air conditioning is not only for comforts, it was also to preserve the food, preserve the medicines, hospitals. We required all those things. So we did not eliminate refrigerator. We did not eliminate refrigeration, but we innovated technology that refrigeration remains, but the gas which depletes the ozone layer is removed from there and start using ozone-friendly gases. So let's try to understand the technology innovation. We can't just say that we need a new technology. What kind of technology? We need a sustainable technologies to deal with the climate change. So that was the third lesson. And I would say there are a number of lessons. The volumes have been written. And every year there are a number of PhD students are working to find out why ozone layer protection was a success and the climate change was a failure. Some people say, oh, ozone was a small story, climate change is a big story. You cannot use the lessons from there. But we always take lessons from the pilot scale. In a small pilot plant, we do the experiments and take it to the larger scale. Ozone layer protection was a pilot plant for the world. So we should take a lesson from there. So the last lesson is, don't keep on patting our back saying that we did it successfully. There are still problems and we should identify what did not work. We know that what we worked. I told you the 3 reasons. What did not work is we never tried to find out whether we can do better. We removed the gas from the refrigerator, but whatever the new gas that we are using, is it fully sustainable or just partly sustainable? The gas first we used in the refrigeration and air conditioning was only 50% good. Now it is getting better and better, but still it is not zero.
It's difficult to be zero.
It's difficult, but we can approach zero. Business did a good work in a new technology, but it did not do the best work. That's the lesson.